Hello, everybody. Welcome on this beautiful platform of IDYM, which is going to today talk about understanding the importance of self-leadership in research and development. Hello, I'm Dr. Sujata Singhi, an author, international TEDx speaker, life and business coach, sound and a spiritual scientist, a humanitarian, and also an official nation builder. Now, when we talk about research and development, having been a resource person at I Create Research and Development, which is the dream project of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, we have had a lot of discussions with understanding what is it that the innovators, the researchers need to be looking at, and what is it that they need to be working on. Yes, there are a lot of aspects which we need to look at when we talk about research and development. First and foremost, why is research important? What is the role it plays? And then we also need to understand why we need self-leadership. So as researchers, it's always the problem which is focused upon. And once the identification of the problem is done, that is when we start looking at the various possibilities that could help solve the problem. This is something which is very basic. And yes, being in the niche is very important, as most of the researchers know that when they are working at solving a problem, they are looking at a niche way of having the problem solved in a way that it is sustainable, it can be systematically followed, and it can be developed upon. These are the three important aspects. Well, before they go into this, what is it with regards to self-leadership? Now, self-leadership is all about how they are able to engage themselves in such fashion that they are able to carry on the research, come to a probable solution, come to alternate solutions. Now, here it's very important as researchers that when we look at a problem, we are looking at not just one way of solving it, but we also look at the alternate ways of solving it. So yes, that's where the distractions start coming in, because first it starts with hypothesis, and then when we start looking at the observations, we come to know whether this hypothesis is coming true or not. Yes, as talking about self-leadership in research and development. So let me bring your focus onto self-leadership. What is it that the person who is doing the research has to look at? And what are the traits they need to develop? We all know research is risky, uncertain, time-consuming, and involves a lot of resources. Now, these four things, when we look at, often people tend to give up midway because it is not about one person. There are a lot of other things in the periphery which is actually at work when a research is being conducted. As we all know, research is, though people think it's under closed doors, but research is actually happening all the time in the minds of the person and the team which is working towards finding a solution. Now, innovation, as we know, that it is something which was not existing before, though problems can be seen through various perspectives. Every person can have a different perspective, but there is something which a researchist, a scientist takes into their straight. They try to look at things in a very specific way, in a very specific perspective. And with that perspective, they keep it as the core to understand what are the various aspects which can be looked at. Now, it is something which often people think that it takes years and years. Yes, that's very true. And with those years comes a lot of self-motivation, which is a driving force behind why a researchist continues to work day in and out to find a solution. We will be talking about self-leadership more in detail because that's what the topic is today. Yes, but as a researchist, you will know that every country which goes into research has a lot of resources involved in it. And after the research, there is an incubation which will take care of hand-holding that project to see its sustainability. And yes, mentoring all along is also very important. So being in the right network of people who keeps you motivated, who tries to guide you when you get distracted, and who handholds you to walk on the path which was not taken earlier is very important, especially in research and development. Research is always conducted for the betterment of the society, of the nation. It could be physical, it could be social, it could be betterment with regards to commerce, with business. Everywhere R&D is required. It is not just limited to medicine or pharmaceutical or engineering. It is needed everywhere, of course. These form the pillars where research can become a manifestation. We all have ideas. We all have thoughts. We all have our own problems which we see. And these problems, when they become social, when they become national or international, that is when we need to look at how it can become self-sustaining and a systemic way of finishing or diminishing the problem. Now, before we go into this, what is it with regards to the first step for self-leadership? Now, if the right mindset comes in, it is very easy to wade through the various blockages that comes under research and development. Because when a person is confident in his vision and mission, it knows about what he is going to do, and also is able to build up a team which is very motivated, then I guess research becomes easier and more of fun. The final outcome is always a celebration, but yes, we also have to prepare ourselves for the not so very celebrative moments, because research involves two aspects, positive or negative. Again, it could be a success or it could just leave behind a learning. Every failure in research means there are these ways and many more ways in how you don't have to work. So when we talk about research, it's always that whether you pass or you fail, you are definitely equating it to success because you are definitely learning something, the various ways which you have to and not have to do. So that itself is a big research. So research, I always say, leads to success. Some people say that, yes, is it always true? Like I mentioned just now, it always leaves behind a trail for you to understand what not to do when it is not a success. And that's where self-leadership comes in, how you look at this path of research and development. Because yes, it is not of a day, a month, or a few years. It takes a toll, not just on the researchers, but the whole team, and in all aspects of life. Now, coming into understanding, what is it that we need to look at when we see the self-leadership? Now, self-leadership, people have understood that there could be various ways of self-leadership. Now, let's correlate these various ways of self-leadership to research and development, because that's what IDYM stands for. They're all about innovation, about nation first. Now, when we talk about nation first, that means we are looking at not just innovation or research, which is done for a limited number of people. It is something which is sustainable for the whole nation, something which is going to help the whole of this country and radiate it to the world. Now, when we come about this aspect, self-leadership, it will actually allow the leader to influence others. When you have a leader who is able to take this self-leadership in your research and development, you will find that they are able to take actions because the leader will have a clear vision and mission. So yes, first aspect of self-leadership is having a clear mission and vision. Because when the vision and mission is clear, a system can be created around it, and it can influence other people to take actions. Now, it also helps a person to understand the personal goals with regards to the project they are working on, with regards to the research they are doing. So when a person knows the personal goal or their role in that particular research, it becomes very easy and clear for them to walk on this path and stay motivated. The other aspect is it makes them very productive and efficient. Yes, if you know the path, it is very easy. If you know your role, it is very easy. And not just that, it keeps them accountable. The team becomes accountable for what role they have to play. So self-leadership is not just for the leader who is taking up the project or who is doing the main research. It is for the whole team to become self-leaders. Because a good leader is one who creates many more leaders and helps them to take up the self-leadership with regards to what they are doing and what is the role they are playing in that particular research environment. The next aspect is when there is a self-leadership concept or a feeling of self-leadership or a motivation with regards to self-leadership, it brings and develops stronger relationships even amongst the core team members. Now, core team members, there would be a number of people working on the projects. So it brings about a beautiful relationship. And when, as we know, it's easy to break a stick, but it's difficult to break a bundle of sticks. So demotivation coming in becomes difficult when the whole team is united. And also, they start getting inspired and inspiring others to follow the lead. That is something which is very interesting, because when there is self-leadership in the leader, as well as self-leadership radiated to all the team members, they inspire one another and also get inspired by the lead. So this is something which is very important, because this brings about the important aspect of staying motivated and accountable, because accountability is of utmost importance. And staying motivated to stay accountable is the other aspect. Now, when we talk about the various aspects of working towards self-leadership, there is a bundle of skills which are required. Now, what are the skills which you need for self-leadership? And whenever there are researchers, I have noticed one aspect, that they are very self-aware. They know what they want, and they're so passionate about what is it that they want. The answer is finding solution to the problem which they feel is something which they have to address on a war footing. Yes, I use the word war footing because it's very important to understand that what is it that triggers an emotion within you and which drives you to challenge it and bring about a solution. So that is what is the first skill which every researcher needs to have. And this is the first trait which a researcher needs to have to bring about the self-leadership aspect. But the second aspect is staying motivated throughout the lows and the highs. Of course, highs is easy. You are motivated anyway. But when there is a low, a self-leadership concept is about staying in your mind without allowing it to take a dip, is something which is very essential, because it's easier to walk through this path when we are in success. But if there is a failure at any point of time, in fact, in research, we have a number of failures before we finally come to success. And we have various examples, like how Thomas Alva Edison had 10,000 failures before he finally got the eureka moment. So yes, all the researchers need to remember your persuasion, your motivation, your passion is what will take you through this whole journey. And these are the self-leadership traits which one has to follow. Yes, during my research, I did have a number of failures. In fact, failures with regards to understanding how we can study frequencies. And yes, as we all know, studying frequency by itself and connecting it to human anatomy was another aspect. But does it stop anyone? No. Try. And then when you come to a realization that what you have been doing is not exactly what had to be done, and then you have your next moment of trying again. And that's exactly how you keep moving. And the next skill, I was talking about the skills for self-leadership. The first one was self-awareness. The second is motivation through your highs and your lows. The third concept is about ability to take up the right decision. So your decision making should be in a zone when you are neither very high with regards to your emotions, celebrating a success, but also not at a time when you are at a dip low when there is a failure. Decision making should be something which is taken when you are in more or less equanimity. You're able to see the truth as it is. You're able to see how the project is moving as it is without having any other perspectives. Now, this is something very important, because often people take decisions, and actually that decisions are the choices you make, and then the choices, they may or may not work. And when that is the concept, we feel a little let down if it turns out wrong. So being a self-leader, a person has to understand the concept of equanimity, being in the neutral zone, being able to see the situation as it is, what are the bridges they need to build, and what are the bridges they have to burn. This is very important. And that is the decision making. Of course, I have already spoken about dedication, but I would like to add here that yes, your dedication as a leader, as a team member, to inspire, to stay inspired and to inspire others, to lead oneself and to lead others is very, very important. And that is where dedicated work always pays. And the ability to influence. A leader is one who is able to influence others. So being a self-leader is making yourself that leader by taking the self-leadership. A leader is one who wears the torch behind his head so that the followers and the team members can see the light and follow the path. So to do that, the person has to be in the zone of self-leadership, taking the risk and marching ahead. So the ability to walk in the dark is what is needed so that you can influence others by laying an example. The next trait is being empathetic. Yes, as I said, research is a journey which is not very smooth. And as I had explained earlier, which is not of a day or a few months, but takes years. So there is something called as empathetic aptitude, empathetic attitude. Now, when we say empathetic attitude, it is being considerate to yourself and others. Often what happens is when there is a failure, blame game starts, and that's where problems come in. So if you're empathetic, you start being into the outcome frame. Start looking at the possibilities, what you have learned and what we can move ahead with. So that this is an important trait of the self-leaders. Or I can say this is an important trait which will help every researchist to move ahead and walk on the untrodden path. Because yes, it is something which nobody's ventured and you are the one who is going there to find a solution. So having that concept of seeing the end and bringing that emotion in the current is very important. And that will keep oneself motivated and the team to be motivated. There's something called as social skills, effective communication, very important. Yes, as it is in research, there is a lot of communication which comes into play. Written communication, oral communication. Oral is not much, but yes, definitely research is all about observations and written communication. But also try to inculcate the habit of communicating verbally to all the team members to bring them into understanding the concept of working together and as a social group which is together. Because as humans, we're all having our own emotions. And when we come together and have more of communication between us, I think that with the social skill, it starts building up a beautiful community. Like IDM is something which is coming up with so many people bringing up their expertise in their various fields so that they could lay the foundation for the people to walk on the path which has not been walked earlier by anybody. So just like this communication which is happening between us, it's creating a connection. So a connection between the team leader and the various team members is very important. And that's where social skills are very important in the form of communication. Coming to the next aspect, very important, self-regulation, discipline is very important. And code of honor. Having a code of honor for self and for the whole team is very crucial. And finally, yes, when all these steps are taken or all these traits are brought in, a sense of accountability and responsibility anyway comes in. And that is where a person who is in understanding of these aspects is able to handle themselves mentally, physically, and emotionally during the journey of research. Research needs self-motivation because it's a problem you have identified. And the burning desire to get a remedy, to get a solution which is sustainable and which is systematic is something which will drive you. That is the fuel you have. And yes, I often ask these 5 important questions in all my sessions with regards to self-leadership. Is first and foremost, what is your personal purpose and the purpose of the whole of the organization or the institution or the society for which you are doing this work? The second question is it to make profits and maximize the stakeholders' value, or is it to create something which makes lives better for people? These are two different aspects, because if it is a commercial research, it's a different aspect. And if it is a research which is conducted on humanitarian grounds, it's a different aspect. So this is how you will see that you will be able to have clarity with what is the research you're doing, why, what, why, for whom, and what. All these answers could come in. Like I say, 5 W's and 1 H. What, where, why, for whom, when, and how. So your research is the how, answering all these W's. That's the 5 W's. Now, the next question which a person has to ask oneself is about, is your mission succinct enough, inspiring enough, engaging, and do people live that? That means how many people are there who will be a part of your journey, and how many people are you going to be affecting by finding the solution to that problem which you have identified? So yes, it's quite simple there, but yes, when you get to start to work on these questions, a lot of unknown aspects of yourself will start to surface. And that is why it's very important to take up this self-leadership, because once when you know that your vision and mission is in place, pathway becomes easy. Laying the pathway becomes easy. And all the blockages which comes in on the way can be handled well. Now, the fourth question is, does it motivate you and energize the people? If your mission and the vision, or your answers to the questions, is something which motivates you and energizes your team, then I think you will be able to say that, yes, this is what I need to do. Research starts with a question. And if you are able to answer that question with a yes, you will be able to move ahead. And the final fifth question is it sustainable and can go on an auto mode even beyond you? Now, when a research is conducted, it is something like leaving behind a legacy. And leaving behind this legacy should be something which can go on an auto mode beyond you and your team. So these are the 5 important questions which one needs to understand, answer it with full honesty, and then be able to understand what is that aspect which they want to work on. And yes, once these questions are clear, next is taking down the answers and sharing the answers with people who are probably with your own mindset to come on board and start getting inspired by the very vision and mission which you have put up. Now, every person who is a part of the research has to be involved. They have to be given clear instructions, and they should be equally energized as you are. That is something which is very important. Each member has to be energized and motivated and be ready to march ahead with their skills, with their own knowledge, because every person in a team of researchers is having their own skill sets. They have their own USBs. So starting to work together as a team is of utmost importance, because yes, it's always a team with researchers. Of course, the lead could be taken by the person who comes with the vision and the mission. Now, another basic questions which people often look at when they're considering research is how to maximize your time. Yes, get the most out of the time that you have, because like I said, research is not of a particular one day or few months. So it's very important to know how much time that you are allocating for the planning of the research. As it's often said, before we start the research, 90% of the time is given to plan and understand what is the research to be conducted on, and lay the pathway with the milestones to be covered, with the benchmarks in place. And when all of these are put together, then a roadmap is created. And this roadmap allows the team and the leader to walk with an understanding of the final outcome expected. Now, when work is conducted, research, when it is conducted playfully, when it's well motivated, backed by a wonderful team who are all self-leaders, research becomes easier. It becomes a play. The research arena becomes a playground. And all the tolerance and the impatience which comes in at times will be handled well. This is where the whole mindset starts changing. Again, a beginner's mindset needs to have a sense of certainty and control, and also an enthusiasm to venture into the unknown. So thinking big is something which is very important. Thinking growth for others is very important because research is not about oneself. Now, this is the key to the success of any research. When we tell this key, it is very important because we need to understand that you have to be the first customer of the outcome of your research. And your team will be the first customers of the outcome of the research done. If that is a yes, and they are the satisfied customers, then you have seen success. Now, often when research is conducted, example, startups, entrepreneurs, what do startups do? When they identify a problem, they start working technically around it and give a technological solution to it, which did not exist earlier. Now, when they are doing this research, they have to understand that their research is at a point of time open-ended research, basic research, connected to the identified problem. But with time, new problems would have also emerged alongside. And with this in mind, they need to be fully aware that in times of uncertainty, we have to see what to focus on, because what you focus on is going to expand. Yes, if you are identifying a problem and there is a similar, not a similar, but an ancillary problem which starts coming up during the research time, it is very important to know the best way to benefit from change is to initiate it. Yes, Steve Jobs had rightly said that. The best way to benefit from change is to initiate it, because change is the only concept, aspect of life which is constant. Rest, everything is just a past. So all the researchers hearing this particular talk right now will have to understand what self-leadership is. And I'm sure you are definitely following most of it. But to the new researchers, do not lose heart. You will know that there is lots coming on the way. There are many more problems coming up and many more solutions we are looking for. The world needs us more than ever before because, yes, problems are always new. Now, recently, there was a talk with regards to how to solve the health issues across the world in a form that it would be easier to maintain, sustain, and replicate. When all these aspects were discussed, the answer lies in using technology positively to enable people to have peace of mind. So yes, when this research was done, it also became a part of my research with sound and frequencies for mental and emotional health and wellness. And that is where we could understand that with the power of sound, we can be able to put up the best for people in their homes at the least cost. And yes, it is very much replicable. It is sustainable, ease of use, and affordable to all. So yes, this is what we need to look at when we are into research. Various research papers have been submitted, been published. At the same time, it doesn't end there. You submit a research paper, you work on something, and then you understand that there is something more coming. Research continues. So researchers, you have to stay motivated all along. Research continues. On that note, if you want to know more about me or read my books, you can go on to sujatasinghi.com, and also some of the research links, which is for good health, mental and emotional wellness, have been put up on my YouTube channel under Dr. Sujata Singhi. IDYM comes with a lot of innovative ideas because nation comes first. And as we know, when we talk about nation, it's the beings on this beautiful country and research and development to make life happier. So looking forward to hearing from you with regards to how you would have liked or understood or learned from this talk. You can definitely put up in the comment section, follow the IDYM portal and also Dr. Sujata Singhi portals to know more about research and development. And yes, we have more research coming up with more people being a part of it. So on that note, thank you for hearing me out, and thank you, IDYM, for giving the opportunity to share my thoughts on the importance of self-leadership for research and development. Thank you, and bye-bye for now.